mean, you're building memory protocol. You're stepping into this. We always make jokes about the. I mean, we're talking last night about just the complexity of identity and of data, and the sort of the number of teams that have sort of run at this, and the limited progress that we've seen. But you guys have been making some great progress over the last little while. When you introduce memory protocol, I also want to dive into talk about your token a bit. So
Yeah, we could take it in a couple different directions. We just launched our token a week and a half ago. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. Great to see you, boys. Fun being here together in Stowe. So, Memory Protocol, in its very simplest form right now, is an API that pays users when their information is queried. The way we make that possible is we've aggregated a bunch of publicly available data on users. So, regardless of how a user authenticates into your app, we likely know that associated account with them, and we can return an array of all these other associated accounts as well as supplemental information about those. So, for app builders, it's great. You know a lot about your user, regardless of how they come into your app. You want to query memory protocol and populate certain context about them within your app, they're going to get paid when you query them. So that's it in an essence. And we also have an application where users themselves can go and manage that information.
Can you maybe put a finer point on why this is important or a big opportunity?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the kind of macro context, I mean, the internet is built on user data. We are entirely subsidizing our use of the internet through our own data. Ad networks, think about it, how they target you traditionally in Web 2 and prior. Everything is built on your data. It's subsidized by data. That's basically been the internet's economy for the past 25 years. Um, Take that a little bit more into Web3. You have a lot of flavors of self-sovereign identity, a lot of belief around, we should own our identity, we should have control of our identity, we should be able to monetize our information. But about 10 years into those ideals, we haven't really seen a lot of that in practice. You have a lot of concerns around privacy preservation. Not a lot of information should be on chain, in a lot of people's opinions. You have a lot of issues with developer experiences building on these tools. It really inhibits how you do things. You need to run custom RPC networks. You need to put a bunch of UX in front of your users. It's kind of a non-starter. Have them authenticate in certain ways. I mean, wallets alone are kind of a non-starter. Signing messages are even obtrusive. So, and that's the other side is UX. But then I think the fourth really kind of pillar that has been a big obstacle with, frankly, a lot of like decentralized identity to date has been incentives. You don't have complete incentives between apps sharing data, having data portability. So we take an approach that, with just the 10 years of data that we have, putting our kind of philosophy aside of how things should be, what pragmatically is going to work. And that's what we've built with Memory Protocol. Something that solves UX, solves DevX, solves the actual incentive problems, and actually meets people where they are and provides data like from the start.
Yeah, let's maybe dive into the incentive piece a little more because I think what the one area where the kind of own your data, monetize your own data has always fallen down for me is I guess the like individual pieces of data aren't that valuable. They are an
Right.
aggregate. So it's like how much, if I'm getting pennies for uploading my data to something, that's I don't know if the trade-offs are there for
Yeah.
most people. So
So,
tell us about the incentive side.
I think if you look at like the trajectory of how you use the internet, like there are certain things that are valuable to you, um, for your own reason. Like you might want your Spotify data if Spotify were to go down. You don't want to recreate every playlist, but you don't really care about monetizing that. That's for like your own purpose that you might want portable data. Um, and then as far as like reading publications for free because you're getting some ads thrown in, you're like, it's kind of a benefit of my data being exploited. So it works right now. And if you were to get paid for that and then you had to subscribe to things or make micro payments for things, again, that'd be kind of cumbersome. So it doesn't really add up for you. And what's really accelerated this is there's been that kind of fragmented demand that makes it cumbersome. Now we actually have LLM history and LLM based apps. And they need more than anything your user data or memory to be able to provide much more rich contextual experiences. We expect that we're going to see a ton of experiences based on LLMs, and a lot of that is going to be based on you and who you are. And rather than you have little to no control, or worse, app builders have little to no control over how they get that data, we don't want a world where everyone needs to pay OpenAI or Google for all your data just to be able to build an experience, basically giving them the leg up from the start. You want to be able to choose which experiences you want to leverage, whether it's a personal agent making your plans on Friday night, a tutor for your child, or something that you might want to do for your own self, your own health. All those different experiences are going to need data portability. So you want to be in control of that. So bringing incentives in where apps themselves are actually incentivized to liberate some of that data is a key component of this.
Right, so walk me through the thinking behind launching a token and launching it now in the stage of your company.
We should have done it years ago.
Good answer. Let's
Oh
go.
my goodness. Again, we're about 10 days in. Um, I've been working in crypto for a very long time. So we come from I was pretty much, I saw the ICO era, and I've always regretted not doing a token then. I was working on a consensus project at the time. Consensus was pretty white glove. If we touched any sort of ICOs, they were pretty well buttoned up from a regulatory point of view, but at the same time, nothing was really well received. This is a time when you launched a token as a funding mechanism, and it was on sometimes and often no more than a white paper, a very like long academic white paper at that. But um, anyone who builds products knows that you don't know what you're going to be doing in 5 years. These white papers all told you what they were going to try to do out to 10. And there was a lot of like PhD level computer science baked into every single one of them. So you've seen a lot of these projects. The one that comes to mind is Gnosis. It was a huge sale. They raised, I think, tens of thousands, or at least thousands of ETH at the time. And they've, become something that was really just a shell of what the white paper said. There's so many others that really failed. And since then, it's just been a like beating down of tokens into something that became feels to me so insignificant, due to like regulatory concerns, all the way down to like we're just doing meme coins now, and we're literally saying this token does nothing, and these are intended to be rug pulls, um, to the point where it really kind of like diminished and took away some of the, I think, early ideals that we felt in the ICO era were some of the most promising things about crypto that you could only do with tokens. So we've seen some, regulatory change, a lot more openness to tokens recently. And with memory, it's a core part of the protocol. It's a medium of exchange for one, but two, it'll be required to actually run the network in the future as we further decentralize. And right now, it's been a great boon for just rewarding people and getting people actually engaged in what we're doing. And it's been a night and day shift from trying to get people to pay attention to what we're doing prior to the token to now having a token and the kind of attention we're getting.
Yeah, can you talk to us a bit about I guess, how you launched your token? I think
Yeah, really
there's a bit of an
fascinating.
airdrop. I think you
Uh,
decided you didn't raise money through it, or did you? I
not
guess, yeah.
technically an airdrop. Yeah. So we launched on Aerodrome on base. Aerodrome is having a very exciting time with the syndicate launch that's been going on over the past week, and it's still going on through this Wednesday. But the way Aerodrome works is it's effectively a DEX. I'm sure most everyone knows, but they have a really interesting kind of liquidity bootstrapping model. And for us, that was perfect because we chose to do it all ourselves. We were approved for certain centralized exchanges, and we were looking at the options of like we could pay to be listed on these exchanges, which is the cost of doing business with most tokens today, or we could just do it ourselves and we could go the Aerodrome route. And launching on base, it felt much more fit, much more organic to what we wanted to do. And again, we're 10 days in, but it felt really right. So far, we've been seeing consistently six figures of trading volume every single day. We've only gotten to a little over 800 holders so far. So that's with few holders. We've gotten a lot of attention. Um, we did see some of our own liquidity, but liquidity has since 5x to what we originally seeded it with, and all of that has been left. The actual FTV is quite high, but it's incredibly low flow right now. The airdrop that we did do was not effectively an airdrop. You did have to come claim, but the user product that we have, where you can come in, link different accounts. We made it available so that if you did so prior to us even announcing the token in late August, between sometime in June and August, you could come and actually claim about 1,000 tokens, some less, some more. And then we also did our first distribution last week. So we are active with the API, and we're distributing mem tokens for people that are queried on the API. And we distributed mem tokens to over 7,000 different unique wallets last Thursday.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. So where does this go from here? Because it feels like the token is just like an absolutely necessary component to the economy you're trying to build. It's comes with some challenges, I'm sure, but also
Yeah.
like a lot of opportunities. So what are the opportunities that you're sort of leaning into next?
Yeah. So this is as much a go-to-market question, right? It's like it's a sequencing thing. We could have done the token a lot earlier and said we're going to do all these things, and I think it would have worked out just as well. Because from an idealist point of view, The idea is it's kind of obvious. It's been sitting in front of all of us for a long time. But for us, I think what makes our approach special is our go-to-market and how we're sequencing things. So first, we started with public data because it's really, really difficult to sell to an app user data when you've only had the users that have come to your app to give you their data. It's like, hey, I can offer you something that will resolve a bunch of data about your users, but oh, the overlap of your users and mine is like only 4%. So okay, that's a really tough sell. So what we did do is we said, you know what, there's a ton of public information out there between all these open networks, and we could just go and link these accounts. We can also go and get kind of more supplemental information per account, and we can combine it all in one place in one API. And we don't need users to come to our app to do anything. They will just be paid when they're queried. So it's quite passive for any users. And we did this last spring. We set out to do this, and we have information on over 150,000 unique accounts. That's Farcaster associations, Twitter associations, Zora associations, GitHub associations in some places, as well as information about each one. So for anyone building that wants like follow graphs for any of that, we have that. And now we take this further because again, I'm starting to talk about like, oh, what about your Spotify data? What about your LLM memory? Like, where do you get into that? How do you enforce privacy around that? That's what comes next. We have the app in place where you can actually bring in certain data as a user. And once we have privacy preservation in place and we have ways or controls for people to expose information in ways that allows them to contain them, enforce economics around them, then we can start to think about, okay, what's the dynamic pricing of different contextual information? Is it like an auction basis where apps or supply side or demand side apps bid on different values of data? Because right now, public information, it's flat priced, keeps the economics really simple. But over time, there might be some very highly specific information that people think is worth quite a bit more. So to answer your question, we're going to start with a lot of social context stuff. So things, again, that you might care about, but are not necessarily like trivial from a privacy preservation point of view. So think like your Spotify data, your book reviews if you're like an avid Goodreads user, or like Letterboxd if you're an avid movie reviewer, things that you've taken a lot of time, hours spending on, that you would be devastated if these services went down. Also, maybe there's a recommendation engine that someone wants to use a open source LLM model for, which would be really easy to do and you could build in a week, but they could only do if they have access to that information. So things like that, we want to see more of those use cases, more of the cultural consumer use cases built with memory. And then we want to move into the more, I'll say, precious things that are going to need a little bit more enforcement around economics and privacy for.
Dope. All right, man. We got to leave it there. So give people, like, show the links where people, people like tokens, people want to be on the
Memoryportal.co. Go there, look at our docs. If you are an app builder, what we're doing right now is we're decaying this over time, but we're offering allocations of mem to use the API. So we're effectively subsidizing use of the API because we want more of those actual payments out to users to be live and going. And we're multiplying those right now. So if you are getting queried as a user, you're getting a multiplied value of mem to you. And we're looking for more partners to adopt it. We think we're the best onboarding API that you could possibly have. Users can come to your app however they want, and we could give you a bunch of information about them, recommend who they should follow based on other apps that they already do that in, things like that. So check it out, memoryportal.co.
And then on the user side, you just come sign up, and if
users
your data gets,
literally
if
don't
your
need to
data
lift
gets
a
queried,
finger.
you don't even need to show up.
Users don't need to do a
sign
thing.
up.
Just if mem shows up in your wallet, that means you're just getting paid for your data on base.
Nice. Yeah. Give me monies. Beautiful. Give me monies. All right, Jack. Appreciate it,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
We're gonna go play golf.
Let's play golf. Let's do some other things. I've got lamps if you want them. There's like 15 more in here. I'm gonna take some back to my room. Thanks, guys.